Hello everyone, today I'm very honored to be here to introduce our paper accepted by the ICCV 2025. It calls Golden Noise for Diffusion Models, a learning framework. It mainly explores the noise initialization algorithms in the test image diffusion models. So first, let's introduce the motivation. So as we know, when we use the diffusion model to generate some images, when you're giving a fixed prompt and a fixed model, you can sample different random noise from different random seeds. But as you can see in the fingers, the different noises sampled from different seeds can generate different images. But you can definitely see from this finger, you can know that some images sampled from specific random noise is better than others. So this phenomenon has promoted us to think why some random noises can synthesize better images. To answer these questions, we conduct a motivation experiment. As you can see here, we sample noise from the seed 21, and here we don't provide any test prompt. That means the image generated by the diffusion model is unconditional. We generate images by using unconditional ways. As you can see, uh, it can even although we do not provide any test prompt, it can also generate some images with specific semantic informations. Like here, it looks like flowers, and here it looks like human. So this phenomenon has answered as the first questions. So maybe the initial noise itself contains semantic informations. And then we, based on this noise, we also provide another prompt like the flowers, which is consistent with the semantic information within the initial noise. And you can see here, we can generate better results. But when we provide the prompt which is inconsistent with the semantic information within the initial noise, like the human, you can generate bad results. So these experiments have answered the questions before. So why some noise can generate better images than others? That because within the initial noise itself, it contains semantic information. When you provide a test prompt, when you provide the test prompt whose semantic information is not consistent with the semantic information within the initial noise, it can generate bad results. But when you provide the test prompt with semantic information consistent with the semantic information in the initial noise, it can generate bad results. So we have already answered the questions. But as users, our goal is to use the test image diffusion model to generate better images. How can we sample when we provide the test prompt? How can we sample the initial noise with the semantic information consistent with the provided prompt? Can we use the model to directly to modify or to inject some semantic information provided by the test prompt to the initial noise to make the semantic information within the initial noise consistent with the with our provided prompt? So that is our goal. So our goal is to use a model to do these kind of things. And also, when you train a model, you need to understand, you need to make sure it can generalize well to the different noise, different prompts, and different diffusion models. This is our final goals. And first, as we talked before, when we consider it as a machine learning problems, so the first thing in machine learning problems, so as you know, we needed to train a model. So the first, we need to collect the data sets. We need to define how to collect our data sets. And the second, when we collected the data sets, we need to train our model. And we need also to design the architecture of our model. After training our models, how can we deploy our model? That means how can the users use our model to help them to inference to generate images. So let's talk one by one. So the first thing that we need to construct the data site. As we talked before, we need to use the model to inject or modify the initial noise and the semantic information within the initial noise. That means our model needs to predict the initial noise with specific and with the semantic information provided by our test prompt. So here we can definitely understand that the data type contains the random sampled noise and the provided test prompt and the target noise. The target noise means that the target noise it contains semantic information provided by the test prompt. So this is our the triplet is our data set. So the most important question is that here there is a key issue that how can we collect this kind of target noise with the semantic information provided by the test prompt. By solving this problem, we conduct several experiments and found that when we use our diffusion models, we sample noise, we get the xt, and we denoise one state, we get txt minus 1, and we use some techniques like add some random noise or use the TDM inversion to go back to get the xt prime. We found that the xt prime is better than xt, as you can see in the first in the finger on the left. And you can see by using these kind of ways, the right row can generate better images than the left row. And we can also think and see in the middle, the fingers in the middle, you know that our goal is to use a model to inject information into the initial noise. So we need to know that the xt prime contains the semantic informations that much more semantic information than xt. Here you can see the finger in the middle that we visualize the procedures between the original noise and the inversion noise. So and you can definitely see that the clusters by the prompt. That means the xt prime contains the semantic information provided by our the given test prompt. And we also do another experiment. Here we train a classifier. The goal of the classifier is to classify the input random noise, to classify the noise into the different prompts. When we use the Gaussian noise, that means the random sample noise, to train the classifier, you can see that the accuracy and the noise doesn't change. That means within the random sample Gaussian noise, it itself they do not contain semantic informations. But by using these kind of ways, we use the xt prime to train our classifier. You can see the accuracy increase and the loss decrease. That means this xt prime contains enough sufficient semantic information. So by doing this way, we get the xt prime. We can successfully construct our data set. But before you use these data to train the model, you need to know that although we can get the st prime that contains much more semantic information than st, but that is not definite. So that means not not all xt prime are better than xt. So we need to filter the bad ones. We need to make our dataset consistent. So here we use the reward model. We generate the image. We generated the images from the HT and HT prime, and we get the images, and we use the reward model or human preference model to score them, and we just let the noise pair where the HT prime, the image generated by the HT prime is better than the image generated by the HT. After we collect our dataset, the next thing is to design the model architecture. So maybe someone may think we can directly use the model to predict the noise. Yeah, it can definitely do that, but the noise latent, the shape of noise latent is about, for example, for if you want to generate the images with 1024 multiple 1024, the noise latent shape is about 1 multiple 4 multiple 128 multiple 128. So that means you need a model to predict such huge parameters, to predict such huge volumes. That means your model need a lot. Your model needs to be very big and contains a lot of parameters. That can bring a lot of time delays. So we do not directly use a model to predict that. So in order to design a simple model, we conduct the exploration experiments to visualize, to use the SVD to visualize the singular vectors of the xt and the xt prime. We surprisingly find that the singular vectors of the xt and xt prime exhibit remarkable similarities. That means you can directly use a small model to predict the singular values. Yes, if the singular values just contain about 128 parameters, so that is very, very small. So you can just use a small model to do these kind of things. So by using this simple model, it do not provide much time delays. So here based on these findings, we design a model lecture that can predict the single value of ST prime and utilize the inverse SVD to get the predicted noise. Beside that branch, beside the single value prediction branch, you can see the top part of this finger. We input the source noise and we use SVD, and we'll keep the single vectors fixed, and then we just use a model to predict the single values, and then use the inverse SVD to get the predict. Beside this branch, in order to boost the semantic information within the predict noise, and also in order to boost the performance of our predict model, we also did another branch called residual prediction. That means you directly predict the residuals between the xt prime and xt. As we told before, the xt prime contains much more semantic information than st. So maybe in the residuals, the residual contains semantic information. So after the st branch, we get our final formulations of our loss function. The loss function is very easy. It's just use the MSE loss to use MSE loss and use the backpropagation to optimize our model. After training our models, we need to deploy our model to help the user to generate the images. As we told before, we just sample random noise and input it into our model, and input the prompt and the noise into our model, and our model can predict a new initial noise. So that means we do not to change or modify the original pipelines. So that means our method and our model serves as a plug and play model, and no need to modify the standard pipeline code. That is very friendly to the users because they don't need to understand the mechanisms, or they don't need to understand the codes of the inference pipeline. Here he gives us some experiment results. As you can see, we conduct experiments on different data sets and invite our results by using a lot of human preference model. As you can see, our method has a better win rate than other methods. And we also had we also conduct experiments when we increase the sampling state. As you can see in the figure, with the increase of the sampling space and steps, our model consistently performs better than others. That means our model and our method can generate real to different sampling steps. We also here provide some tables about our qualitativity results. You can see in this table, we conduct it across different diffusion model on different data sets and compare them with different baselines. You can see our methods are consistently performs better than others. And we also found that when we use our model, if the standard inference step is about 50 steps, when 50 steps generate images, when you use our model, you can just use about 30 inference step or 40 inference step to generate better images than the standard one. That means you can cost less time to generate better images than the standard. So on the right, the brief summary of the advantages of our proposed method. This is very effective because it can generate real to different diffusion model, diffusion data size, and diffusion and different sampling scheduler and different evaluation metrics. And it also very efficiency because it serves as a plug and play model. It doesn't take a lot of time delay, and it can also generalizable. Also, here is some visualizations of our method and compared with the standard one. You can see our method, our model can generate better images than the standard ones. We also combine our methods with some downstream tasks like the control net. You can see when you use our method, how our model can generate better images than the standard one. Here we also combine it with the other sampling enhancement method in the diffusion model. You can definitely know that when combining it with our models, it can generate better results. Here is the summary of our paper. So here we just propose a model called noise prompt network. It goes to predict or modify the semantic information within the initial noise to make it consistent with the semantic information provided by our test prompt. And this method is very straightforward and yet effective because we just use a model to take kind of sense. And this model is very time efficiency and user friendly. And because here we just use our model in the text to image generation, maybe this kind of thought or this kind of thinking can be applied to some other fields like the 3D generation or the video generation. Yes, so that's all about my presentations. Thank you.